everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Terms and News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand in detail few concepts and terms that have been in news in the past few days. So let us begin with the first term that we are talking about today, that is notifiable diseases. So when we are talking about notifiable diseases, it basically refers to those diseases which are mandatory required by law to be reported. That means if this disease crops up in any report, then that lab particularly has to notify and tell it to the government health authorities. It is not like regular fever, cough, cold that can remain underreported. It needs to be reported to the given government health authority. For example, COVID. So if you are tested positive in COVID, if you remember during that time, that was absolutely important to be notified to the government health authority. The whole idea of having a notifiable disease is to make sure that proper disease surveillance is going on and it is continuous so that the extent of the spread can be managed, and it helps in understanding at what level the spread is so that there can be a warning system and any potential outbreak that can take place that can be managed. For example, we have TB, for example, COVID, for example, malaria, dengue. All of these are notifiable disease, and the reason we notify these diseases or mark them required to be reported to the health authority is to ensure that there is timely public health response and containment if required. So when we are talking about notifiable disease, there is a proper framework that is present in India. It is governed under Epidemic Diseases Act of 1987, and then it is supplemented by the State Public Health Act as well. Now, furthermore, when we are talking about notifiable diseases, it is important that the disease meets certain criteria to be labeled as notifiable disease. These criteria are that they are relevant to national or international health regulation or control programs. A good example here, COVID is there, and then we have TB. If that particular disease has a high incidence, that means it is occurring and spreading at national, state or district level, then it can be qualified to be a notifiable disease. If the severity of that disease, that means it could lead to rapid mortality or it has severe consequences, then it can be a criteria for declaration of notifiable disease. And high communicability. Just like COVID, we saw the spread was extreme. So in this situation, if there is an outbreak potential or high communicability, and there is also risk of international spread. In all these contexts, a disease can be labeled as a notifiable disease. The whole idea of this concept is to ensure that the medical practitioners and diagnostic laboratories, they must notify the cases to the local health department, and it has been structured in a way where the state government is responsible that which disease will be notifiable or not. And the reporting is mandatory to the medical officer of the concerned jurisdiction, be it state, be it district, and accordingly. The reason that it has been in news because in Delhi, rabies has been declared so as to improve the surveillance and most importantly to prevent deaths. Now on this note, we will be moving to the next term that we are doing today, that is mens rea. Now when we are talking about mens rea, you will usually find the usage of this term in law, and this is basically a Latin word which means guilty mind. So when we are talking about mens rea, it refers to the intention. When we are using this term, it is about the intention or the mental state or the thought that is in mind during committing a crime. So if we are talking about a crime and the punishment associated with it, usually the judgment is based upon if the person had decisively done the act and they had that act planned in their mind. For example, if we are talking about mens rea in an accident, there is no intent present. So we will not talk about mens rea in an accident. But if somebody is planning something to harm somebody, planning a murder, planning a kidnapping, that means there is a planned harm this is present. That means mens rea is present, that is guilty mind is present. So when we are talking about mens rea, there are multiple kinds such as intention. If you had the intention of causing harm, if you had the knowledge of harm that can be done, recklessness or negligence as well. Most of the time when there is a punishment for the crime, both are considered, but sometimes Without mens rea, punishment is also there. When there is a strict liability, maybe you did not intend to do it, but you should have been aware of the liability at your hand and still you did. In that context, some laws do punish even without mens rea. Now, when we are talking about this particular term mens rea, it has been in news when the bail hearing of the Delhi riots case took place, and in this particular context, Supreme Court not only widened the scope of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, they talked about that mens rea, the guilty mind, was an important factor that they are taking into consideration when they did not give bail to two of the accused in this particular case. Now, on this note, we will be moving to the next term that we are doing today, that is Landstack. So, if we go by English, it basically means nothing but a digital record. Record of what? Of all the land records. So, when we have a digital system of land records, it is known as Landstack. But recently, Landstack, which is a GSI enabled platform, and it is a digital platform where all land related documents will be present, has been talked about and has been launched in India. So, there will be GSI linked data about land will be present with digital maps and geographical location, and the whole idea of bringing Landstack in India is to ensure there is single easily accessible source of land information for public. It will have the ownership records, it will have land boundaries and maps, land use details and transaction history, especially because these are the major source of disputes that are seen in India. So, that will not only bring facilitation to the public, this will also reduce the burden at the judiciary's end. The whole idea of bringing in Landstack is not unique. It has been inspired by global practices. It is seen in Singapore, United Kingdom, Finland, and in India, it has been launched under a program that is Digital India Land Record Modernization Program. The whole idea of this program, objective of this program itself, is to reduce the land dispute, improve transparency for governance, and support planning, infrastructure, and investment in land and real estate. Now, on this note, we will be moving to the next term that we are discussing. Now, this particular term has been in news because there was launch of glossary of revenue terms and also Landstack that took place by the end of last month. On this note, we will be moving to the next term that we are doing today, that is cellulitis. So, when we are talking about cellulitis, which is different from cellulite, cellulitis is a common skin infection which is caused by a bacteria, that is Streptococcus and also Staphylococcus. Now, usually this infection affects the tissues which are present beneath the skin, and it can affect any part of the body, be it face, arms, legs, etc. The risk factor with cellulitis is that anyone can contract cellulitis, but persons who have skin with wounds, who have compromised immune system, which basically allows the bacteria to enter easily, are the ones more prone to cellulitis. Cellulitis is not contagious, that it does not spread with touch, but if anyone has an open wound and if they have a skin to skin contact with the infected person, the spread can be there. If we talk about from the context of public health, it is of absolute importance because it can lead to sepsis and also limb complication in extreme scenarios if it is not treated. And from the context of your exam, this becomes important with regards to healthcare access and in terms of hygiene, sanitation, and as healthcare and sanitation standards, and also from the perspective of science and technology. Recently, it has been in news because of the increased numbers, and there has been detailing that how common it has become. Now, on this note, we will be moving to the next term that we are doing today, that is bomb cyclone. So, when we are talking about cyclone, we always get to see it in the tropical region. But when we are talking about bomb cyclone, we have to understand that this is a type of cyclone which is formed very quickly. It intensifies very quickly, and it is not found in the equatorial tropical region. Rather, it is found in the mid-latitude. Mid-latitude, that means 30 degree to 60 degrees. The scientific term which is used for the bomb cyclone is explosive cyclogenesis, which highlights that how rapidly it is forming and how rapidly it intensifies. So, for a cyclone to be defined as a bomb cyclone, the atmospheric pressure has to drop more than or equal to 24 millibars in just 24 hours. If this process happens in the given latitude, then that is termed as a bomb cyclone. Now, when we talk about the cyclone, the main energy source that we talk about is usually the low pressure and the warm ocean surface. But here the energy source is the difference, the strong temperature difference or the contrast that is present warm ocean air and cold polar air. That is why you get to see it between 60 to 30 degree, because we have warm ocean air from here and polar ocean air from here. So that is where we get to see formation of fronts, and that is why they are different from tropical cyclones, because they form in mid latitudes. They are not formed because of the warm ocean temperature, they are formed because of baroclinical instability. That means there is instability that is created by difference in pressure and not just the warm core because of warm ocean surface. Now, because warmer oceans are coming into the picture with climate change and increased temperature, the storm strength in recent times has been intensifying. The reason it has been in news, because when we talk about winter storm, that is Ezra, that is going around US, and it has been highlighted by meteorologists that it can be a form of bomb cyclone. That was all from my side in form of terms of news. Thank you so much.